Hi, everyone. Welcome to a really unique VSG info session. It's the first of its kind. This cycle for fall 2023, we are inviting additional teams to join our regular cohort, teams that have space application. And this new opportunity is born out of a partnership from CREST, a USC entity, and the Aerospace Corp, along with a bunch of other really amazing people who are just interested in building a space community here that's associated with all of their unique resources. So that's kind of like the feeling that we're going to try to maintain in this info session is what is it? Where are we going with it? But it's very general. Feel free to ask questions when we get to the question slide. I'm going to really quickly breeze through the VSG slides because you can watch the info sessions for those. But, people might have questions about the general programs and offerings because those will also be available to space teams. So I don't want to spend too much time answering questions offline. So I'm going to try to manage both space inquiries and VSG inquiries all in this info session. I also want to thank Tom Norman from Aerospace Corp for joining us today. He's going to head the space cohort slides, and you'll be able to meet him a little bit once we get there. But let's just get this party started. Okay, so this is the agenda. I'm not going to waste any time on the agenda. Let's do the agenda. The garage is a really unique incubator in terms of the landscape of what you can get for resources, in that it's a free resource. People are always wondering, how do we do that? Thank Giannis Yortsos, the Dean of Viterbi, for funding it. I mean, he just believes that USC should be a part of innovation in Southern California, and he puts his money where his mouth is. And we're very grateful because it's unlike a lot of resources in Silicon Beach. Also, because we're associated with the university, I think it's important to mention that whatever you're building here at the garage is not going to end up being somehow shared IP with the university. Anything that you do with us is safe, and it's considered your IP. So, it's funny that Dave's on the call because we actually just ramped up a couple of these slides because there are still many questions about what we do, who we do it for, who we accept, how we accept them. So I'm just going to kind of break down a little bit of who do we accept at the garage. So it's important to recognize that we are looking for full-time founders. On occasion, we will take student teams, but usually it's because they have one co-founder that's full-time. So keep that in mind. You might be a little early for us this cycle because you are maybe a student or you're sharing your time with a job, and you're waiting for some metric to free you from needing to do those additional things. Once you're ready to go full-time, I think that means you're ready for the garage. We want you to be here at the garage. It's a residency program. So if you're not in LA and you can't get here, you can't work out of the space, it's probably not a good fit. We also just kind of want your startup to be post-ideation, tech-enabled. We want the product technology to be in its initial stages of development. If you are a business type and you have an idea and you're still looking for a technical co-founder or a technician to help you build that, probably too early for the garage. We're industry agnostic, which basically means we want technologies that are solving problems everywhere. In this particular case, space. Early stage, pre-seed, seed, all the way up to raising your Series A. That is by design. We like teams that have different forms of experience to be able to support each other. This is a big one. You do not need USC affiliation. Obviously, we play favorites to teams that have been associated with the university because we want to give back to the university at all times, including faculty, students, alumni, you name it, but it's not required. And at the end of the day, we really are looking for a specific type of founder who likes to participate in founder activities, support other founders, and help us build that community. We do this twice a year, spring and the fall. We review applications after the deadline. We do Zoom interviews with teams that we feel confident about, and we take about 5 to 6 teams per cycle. This cycle, we will take more than 5 to 6 teams because we're going to include space cohort teams. So I'll go into detail about what we do as we move forward, but I think it's important to mention that really what we're used to and what we're trying to do is support technical founders, which basically means that you got all of the tech stuff under control, but maybe the business aspect of what it is you're trying to build, you're a little bit lighter on because maybe it's not in your wheelhouse. And we have a variety of resources to help you to do that. Go-to-market strategies, basically getting your business development plan underway, also helping you to be ready for fundraising, which is you essentially knowing how to talk about the business element of what it is that you're doing in a convincing way, so that investors are interested in participating with you. And I think, again, just to mention, although we are associated with the university, one of the things that I think people imagine the garage does is help you to find a technical co-founder. Again, this is just not something that we do at the garage. We're really looking to support tech startups who are beyond that stage. So, and how do we do that? We do it through lots of programs. We have Founder Circle, which is essentially founders helping founders. We do that every week over lunch. It's very popular. Oceanside chats are open to the general public. Some of you might have participated in some of those. They're basically info sharing opportunities for specialists to come and talk to us about things like revenue operations or how to build a pitch deck that raises. They are also really great opportunities to build out your network and make connections. A lot of our Oceanside chat speakers offer one-on-one office hours to the teams at the garage after their presentation. And so it's a great way to meet new people and get some strategic advising. We do legal clinics on a bi-monthly basis. Legal support is not cheap. And so we provide opportunities to interact with some of our legal friends, to answer some of your questions, and to help you to make sure you're not making huge mistakes with your business. VC Angel Office Hours is our way of getting your guys' pitches and pitch decks reviewed by our investor friends to make sure that you are actually doing and saying the right things. The ISI Tech Exchange, we have some ISI people on the call, is an opportunity for us to engage with the researchers here at the Information Sciences Institute. We're in their building, so the least we could do is interact with them. And so we host events for us to do technical exchanges and ask them questions about research that they're doing and have them weigh in on the technical challenges the teams are experiencing at the time. And then one of the additional favored programs is Summer Smasher. And to double back on suggesting we do not support you technically, it's not 100% true. Through our Summer Smasher program, we bring students from the university, most of them from the Viterbi School, to come do projects for your businesses for 8 weeks, which is a huge technical support that happens once a year during the summer. Some of the resources that we provide in person, the office, it's so beautiful here. I wish I could just show you guys the ocean. It's a wonderful day. And things like desks and breakout rooms and snacks and coffee, all the basic needs that you'd have as a business in an office space. But we also have virtual resources. Along with the ones that I've mentioned before, we have a mentor group, the Innovators in Residence. We have mentors who provide you strategic advising every week. You can just sign up with them for 30 minutes. And it's an important resource that I think some founders overlook. And so we really push our founders to make sure that they're keeping in touch with our Innovators in Residence. And now I get to pass it on to our special guest, Tom. Tom, I'm going to let you weigh in on all things space. Tell us about yourself. Introduce Aerospace Corp. I'll advance the slides as soon as you tell me. Really happy to have you with us today.
Sure. Thank you very much, Arcelia, and David as well. My name is Tom Normand, and I am part of the Aerospace Corporation, which is a relatively large space-based, federally funded R&D research center, headquartered here in El Segundo. I'll get into more specifics about that. But I will be effectively the main contact for this particular space cohort, and will be able to bring, I'm excited to be able to bring through this partnership access to the cohorts that are selected for this particular program, giving you the resources and advice that will help you grow your particular businesses linked to the space industry. So my background and experience is pretty wide. So I'm relatively new to the company here. I've been here for a little over a year over at the Aerospace Corporation, but I'm bringing a wide scope of experience linked to business development, sales, partnerships and alliances, and that sort of thing, with a mix of commercial entities as well as academia. So I'm hoping to impart some of that knowledge to the teams as well over the course of the next 6 months or a year for that matter. With that in mind, I guess I just wanted to say that this is a new venture for the group, and the space cohort, our alliance with USC is kind of interesting. So of course, we're focused on the space industry as a company. We're funded primarily by the US government, but we also have what we call off-ceiling revenues that are generated by working with other entities in the space industry, and we bring in an additional a few $100 million in revenue for the corporation for that as well. And access to, we have some pretty sophisticated labs here as well, and very solid subject matter experts across a mix of areas that are potentially of interest to the teams that might be part of this cohort. So with that in mind, perhaps it'd be best to kind of move to the next, then I'll be able to give you some more information about our company and the cohort.
And actually, you remind me, Tom, you did send me a link when it comes to the labs. You guys have such great virtual lab walkthroughs. I will drop that link into the chat in case you guys do want to see some of those labs. And
sure, that's a great idea.
More.
It's an incredibly exciting time to be working in the aerospace field, where things are rapidly evolving every day, and that's exactly what I get to do here at the Aerospace Corporation. We're living in the future. There's things that we're doing in space that we could only have dreamt of even a few years ago.
I think that's the great thing about the space industry, is that you can work in a wide variety of fields and still be contributing to aerospace.
Space is ever-changing. It's constantly growing, and the technology that goes with it is also changing as well. So it's really great to see everything as it goes through those changes, and aerospace is leading all of that.
Space is contested, congested, and competitive. And yeah, it's really cool to see aerospace really take on those challenges and solve the problems that we need to solve to protect what is worth protecting.
Did I advance? Am I advancing? There it is.
There we go. Perfect. That was great. Thank you for that. I thought it would be interesting for you to see visually, specifically, some of the things that we do and hear from some of our scientists. Those were actually some of the scientists from some of our labs here at Aerospace Corporation. So I thought it would also be interesting for you to hear a little bit about who we are, how big we are, and the types of people that are part of our team here, because not a lot of people have heard of the Aerospace Corporation. So since we're funded primarily by the US government, we receive over $1 billion a year in funding from the US government that is specifically for space-based research launch related, anything to do with space is our forte. And then, like I mentioned previously, we also work with other companies who are interested in working with us for specific projects. And that's approximately 200, at this point, another 200 or $300 million in revenue. We have approximately 4,000 employees here, a little over 4,000. What's interesting about our organization is most of the people who work here are PhDs and master's degrees, have master's degrees in some science-related discipline, engineering or photonics or whatever. So that's interesting, and we provide the breakdown there. Next slide. We are geographically spread out across the United States, but our headquarters is in El Segundo. So we actually have a bridge which is connected to the Space Force here in El Segundo. We're the only company that has that access, and personnel can go back and forth, without any problems in terms of security and whatnot over that bridge. So it's interesting. Our other main area is, we have another main office outside of Washington, D.C., and then others spread across at these particular locations. We also have a very diverse workforce. I just think it's interesting for us to point this out because at Aerospace, we take this seriously across all the areas of diversity for the corporation. We have a number of groups that, the way Aerospace Corporation is set up is that we align ourselves with our particular customers. So we set up the groups primarily linked to the interests of those particular groups. If it's DoD, they're interested in one particular area, the intelligence community, and then of course commercial customers. And we set those up accordingly and make sure that the communications with those groups are consistent, and then we're offering the types of value-added services that they're looking for. So the types of things that we offer will be on the next page. So that's great. So for your benefit, especially if you're looking at this after we finish this discussion, you can see the types of things that our organization is involved with, just to give you an idea as to areas of expertise that we offer via whether or not it's, atomic clocks or other sensors and things of that nature. So we have, I think what's interesting is I'll be this conduit that has access to the right, what we call subject matter experts within each one of those groups that can help the companies that are actually part of this particular space-based cohort. And we can get you the answers that you're looking for, offer advice, and potentially help you with your business plans and those types of things. And then also thought it would be useful just to see the types of things that we're working on and what particular projects. That's what this particular slide goes over as well. And that's it for the overview. I know that some of you probably have very specific questions, and we're happy to answer those about not only what we're looking for as an organization partnering with this team, and those types of things. I should point out that, as a space cohort, we are looking for, we're casting a pretty wide net for the types of companies that we're interested to work with. But we do want to focus, we kind of are looking at three key components of what we're looking for. So obviously we're looking for a company that has a product or a service that has some space utility, but that could be very wide, right? And then also we'll be looking at, depending on what it is, the technical merit of that particular product or solution that you're offering the space community. And then, of course, what is the type of commercialization potential that might have? And we'll look at that in general when we're evaluating the actual applications for the team. So with that, I'll toss it back to you, Arcelia, and see if you want to just guide the questions, Q&A.
Yeah, sure. Does
Happy
anyone,
to.
I mean, this is a pretty broad overview. It's not to suggest that you shouldn't ask questions, but just to be clear, some very specific questions might have very general answers, because I think one of the things that Tom and I discuss at length is that this is the first time we're doing this. And so a lot of it is going to be kind of figuring out how to support space teams through our interactions with the first cohort. So I actually encourage a lot of questions now just to hear what you guys have to say. Does anyone have anything on their mind? I guess we're doing a really good job, Tom. Nobody has any.
That's great.
It's the most informative info session of all time. Well, if you do have questions that come to mind as I wrap this up, just drop them into the chat.
And for those people who are watching the recording in the next few days, a couple of points to note. First off, if you email Arcelia at vsg@usc.edu, your specific questions, she can work with Tom and address those so that you can find out exactly what you need. Next point is that our deadline for applications for this cohort is going to be midnight this coming Sunday, October 15th. And of course, we're not encouraging you to stay up late on Sunday, though it certainly happens quite a bit, but we look forward to seeing your application. We've been working at the garage to build this community and to build this process and to build this program for the last 5 years in its current form. It's been extremely successful. We have 44 alumni teams. We have 10 teams, correct me if I'm wrong, RC, that are there right now, along with maybe another dozen faculty teams. And I would say that the vast majority of those would tell you that this has worked for them very well. We have a number of successes in terms of companies that have moved on, companies that have gone to tier 1 accelerators, such as Y Combinator, Techstars, et cetera. We'll actually be working with Techstars space cohort in Los Angeles, working in conjunction with them. They're helping out. But ultimately, we look forward to having you as part of this initial space cohort. We think that it's we know how to do this. The question is, how can we bring it to space? And with the assistance of Aerospace Corporation, I have no doubt that we're going to make this work. So we look forward to you being a part of it.
Very well said, Dave. Thank you. We do have a question in the chat. Does aerospace actually apply for and fulfill government research grants, or just help startups find garage space? I'm not sure I completely understand your question, Princeton. Do you mind like asking it out loud? Is that okay? Are you there?
I think I understand what he's asking before, if he's trying to set up his microphone, since part of my responsibility includes overseeing our grant, the projects that we actually propose to that are linked to grants and solicitations that are available in the marketplace. So we, as a company, we partner with other institutions, some universities, some commercial companies, depending on the type of funding they're looking for. And we work with them to strengthen proposals and to pursue those proposals. So we do, as a company, actually as a prime and as a sub, pursue grants and other funding opportunities outside of our traditional government funding.
Yeah, so I get, perhaps he's asking if that is a resource that we will be providing teams at the garage. I'm not sure.
So we can help them with grant funding. It's a little bit, so we have to be careful with respect to, in this particular instance, we'd have to assess if there's any particular conflict of interest for whatever they are interested in pursuing in terms of funding. So as long as it passes those that test, we usually can proceed.
Yeah, and for the record, at the garage, we also have a lot of resources to support with things like applying for grants, SBIR, phase 1, phase 2. We teams are a lot of the teams actually sometimes fund themselves, at least initially, through a variety of grants as kind of like their first round of funding. Aerospace is an FFRDC that does extensive government work. Oh, I guess
That's a statement.
our friend David just
That's a statement. Yeah, there you go.
So just to wrap up these slides and maybe get back into the questions, VSG has a community. We're now including the space teams. I mean, we always have. We actually currently have a space team and the garage. This is pre this cohort, and we've had space teams in the past. So we do have resources in terms of our aerospace, our previous long-standing aerospace friends and partners here. We've never had a partnership like this before, which is, I mean, it's just going to make such a huge impact on the teams that we have in the garage that have space applications. But in
that's right, Arcelia. I will add that we're just adding new value to what already exists. So we're giving the cohorts access to space-specific needs, value, stuff like that, value-added stuff that's linked to space specifically.
I
You
think
probably wouldn't find elsewhere, to be honest.
it's worth mentioning, I think, the context for our first ever space cohort that we're launching this fall, which is that recently USC's Viterbi School of Engineering has launched the Center for Research in Space Technologies, or the acronym is CREST. And as part of that, Aerospace Corp is definitely a partner with CREST, as are a lot of the other key players in the Southern California space ecosystem.
Hello?
Excuse me. Anyway, to continue, CREST had its first advisory board meeting last Wednesday, where Tom's colleague, Tim, was there, and a number of other individuals representing, for instance, venture funds from the local, aerospace community, and actually individual venture funds that aren't part of, for example, Lockheed Martin or Northrop Grumman, both of whom were represented, along with the astronomics and aeronautics faculty at USC. And Amazon was there, Atlantic Council, a number of other players. And there is the level of commitment to move this forward was pretty extraordinary. I was fortunate enough to make a presentation and actually to have one of our previous aerospace teams make a presentation to the group. And the one thing that's very clear is there's going to be a lot of support via CREST for the space cohort at VSG in conjunction with Aerospace Corp. And there's going to be other sponsorship and I guess other opportunities within the CREST kind of overarching ecosystem. So we're a piece of what CREST is doing in conjunction with Aerospace Corporation, and we couldn't be happier about that.
Yep. So as Dave mentioned, the deadline is the 15th. It's coming up. So if you guys haven't yet already applied, you might want to start thinking about doing that. I'm just putting TBD for program kickoff because I don't want to commit to a kickoff date. Our application process can shift week by week. And so you guys will have notifications on a routine basis after the deadline that'll help you kind of navigate after the application deadline what to expect. And then, this is just because usually I talk more about Summer Smash or during our routine info session. Here are just some general dates for students. I don't know if there are any students on this call. I did not update this. This should say the 15th, but here's the QR code for that application. You can also find it on our website. And if you're interested, here's the QR code for our kind of mothership. It's the office that VSG operates out of. It's the Technology, Innovation, and Entrepreneurship Office, which also provides a bunch of resources and support services that is more student and faculty facing. And although, we're right at the tail end, so I don't know why any of you guys would want to book a chat with me now. You can obviously book a chat with me. I do office hours to ask questions about the application and so on and so forth. And then some of you actually do take me up on this, booking a visit to come see the space. It's actually very encouraging when teams decide to use this as an opportunity to come here, because it proves that they can come here, which again, I should just mention is part of the expectation for the garage, is that we want you here. We're building a family of teams, and we want you guys to build that business with us. So as long as no one has any more questions, I don't know, Tom, if you wanted to say anything else.
Or if Dan does, since Dan Noyes joined us.
Oh, well, I will just quickly add that I agree greatly with what David was talking about, the affiliation with the CREST group, the new CREST organization, the CREST Center. I couldn't think of that word. The CREST Center within USC, because in addition to what we bring to the table in terms of value-added services, you'd have access to potentially the other advisors and companies that are part of, let's say, the advisory board within CREST as well. So it's great. And Dan Noyes is a colleague of mine also, out of our marketing communications offices here at the Aerospace Corporation. So he helped me put together that video for you that you all enjoyed toward the beginning. So hi, Dan.
Hey, Tom, apologies for being on late here. I had a conflicting meeting leading up to it, but just I'll echo, I'm sure, whatever you brought to the table today. And I'm available and reachable for any questions about aerospace, about the work we do and how we can help sort of facilitate these relationships. So the folks here have my contact info. They can certainly pass it along, and we can answer any questions and make ourselves available if need be.
That's great. Thank you, Dan. So Dan, we basically went over the program and the types of things that we bring to the table, as well as a quick background as to who aerospace is. For everyone on the call, we could spend quite a bit of time digging deeper into what each functional area actually does and those sorts of things, but we didn't think it would be relevant. And it's too detailed. But suffice it to say that we have experts in anything linked to space, and we can help you build your business potentially. So.
Yeah, and if you guys are interested in seeing what that looks like a little bit more, I did find and drop the virtual tours link into the chat. I spent a lot of time looking at those videos and checking out that virtual tour option for some of your lab spaces. There are a lot of really great resources that I'm sure the subject matter experts can find ways to support teams with space applications. There's a question: does Aerospace Corporation help in designing, executing pilot projects with startups? I mean, essentially, that's what this kind of whole space cohort is meant to do. We're hoping that the program will grow around the teams that we have. I think that's actually how the garage kind of got to where it's at. We are a well-oiled machine now, supporting a variety of startups. But when we first started, we were just really responding to the needs of the teams we had in the space. And as we moved forward, we realized that there are patterns to those needs, and that the resources should be organized, and the things should be kind of on an annual basis. And the next thing we knew, we were offering really valuable programs to teams. And I feel like the same thing will happen in a very specific way for space teams. So we look forward to this program growing. Anything else from the group before I wrap this whole thing up in a bow? All right, guys, thank you for your time. Again, the application deadline's on the 15th. Don't sleep on it. It is at midnight, so just get it in.
And then you can sleep on it.
And then you can sleep on it. And then you can look forward to hearing from us at least a week after that date, because it's going to take us about a week to review all of the applicants. And after those notifications, I would say be patient. It does take us time. You guys incubate with us for a whole year. So we like to make sure that the decisions that we make are good. And so be patient. If you do have questions, you can always reach me at vsg@usc.edu. And I'm happy to forward any of those questions along to Tom. Bye, everybody.
Great. Bye. Thank you.
Thank
Look
you.
forward to seeing those applications. Bye.
Bye.
Bye all.